Oh, yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Good afternoon and welcome to the Office of Economic Development Business Information Session. My name is Margaret McGee, the Business Services Manager. Business Services assist entrepreneurs and business owners in starting and growing their business. We help in navigating through the different departments within city government to obtain permits and licenses. We also connect the business community with organizations that can provide technical assistance, incentives, resources, and other programs beneficial in operating a business. One way we do this is to host business information sessions and webinars. These sessions and webinars are held throughout the year, and the topics are gathered from information we collect from the business community. This is the end of the Shine Online Digital Marketing webinar series. Today we have Ms. Allison Schmidt, the Marketing Manager for Get Online NOLA. And she has been with the team since 2018. Allison is originally from Chicago suburbs, has a degree in marketing and a background in writing for digital publications. She's passionate about the digital landscape and authentic marketing efforts. As the head of the marketing department at Get Online NOLA, Allison is responsible for helping businesses across the Gulf South take charge of their digital presence and online marketing efforts. She will share information to help bring traffic to your site. To keep down distractions, attendees, please turn off your videos and mute your speakers. I ask that you put your questions in the chat box and she will answer them accordingly. All handouts and any links that's provided will be shared with you within 24 to 48 hours after this meeting has ended. Now I'll turn it over to Allison.
Thank you, Margaret. All right, well, welcome to part 3 of our Shine Online Digital Marketing webinar series. Today, we are going to talk about bringing traffic to your website through your digital presence elsewhere on the web. So if you attended our previous presentations, you'll remember our team. We have Wendy, our president, who taught our webinar on branding. That was the first one. Our Director of Digital Solutions and Client Engagement is Alex. He taught the webinar last week on building a website that works. And we also have Lydia here is our business development rep. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to share an information on how you can sign up for a personalized strategy session with us. So I wanted you to have a little look at who you'd be speaking with. So a little bit more about me. My name is Allison. I'm the marketing manager here at Get Online NOLA. As Margaret said, I started here in about 2018, and before that, I was a freelance writer. I worked for a lot of online publications, including Nylon, Allure, Bravo, and Brides. And I like building social media presences with brands and working on their overall marketing strategy. So as for Get Online NOLA, we really believe in community engagement. It's really important for our whole team. And we do that through events like this, as well as our annual giveaway of a website to a deserving business. So if you keep your eyes out in the spring, we have our next annual Get Online NOLA grant. A little bit more housekeeping as we get into things. We have about 90 minutes here today, and we will be taking a 5-minute break about halfway through the session. Do please keep yourself on mute throughout, but we will have time for questions after each individual section. And then during that, we're also going to do a little bit of participation. So I will ask you a couple of questions. You can type them into the chat and then hold on to your answer until I say send. So we have everybody coming in around the same time. So in today's lesson, we are going to cover everything that you need to know about driving people to your business online. We're going to cover social media, digital ads, SEO, email marketing, and we're going to get started with social media. So we all know how we use social media for ourselves, but how are we using it for businesses? Social media is when social media marketing is when a brand focuses on developing a relationship with their audience on social media platforms. That relationship building can be especially powerful for marketing your business online. But we've all been on social media for so long at this point. So what is the point of social media for today's businesses? And I'm sure if you have been using social media for your business, you know that it can be kind of hard to cut through all that noise of all the other people using it to reach your customer. But it still does have value for sharing on social media. For one thing, it is simply expected by a lot of consumers today as a way to get to know more about your business before buying. Keeping your business at the top of your customers' minds can be really difficult, but social media is a really great avenue for generating brand impressions. And social media can also be used directly to build sales, especially if you have a lower cost product. But one thing that we really want to focus on with social media today is building relationships. So a question that we are asked all the time is, what social media platform should your business be using? And that really depends on where your ideal client is spending their time online. So depending on what type of business that you have and the kind of clients that you're trying to reach, you might want to focus more of your efforts on LinkedIn over TikTok or vice versa. And each platform comes with its own pros and cons. It's going to take a different amount of time to use, different levels of expertise, and different kinds of editing. And it's going to reach those different types of users. So we're going to kind of look at the different social media platforms next. So this chart, I know, is a little bit busy, but it shows all of these different social media platform usage over time by American adults ending in 2023. All of this data is self-reported, but it's super useful in understanding what kind of platforms have the most users. We have seen year over year that YouTube is the #1 most used social media site, followed by Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and so on. And people tend to be really surprised when they see this chart. But what we would like to caution you is to not just pick a social media platform because it has the most users. You want to choose a social media platform that you are going to be able to use well, use frequently, and most importantly, that your customer is using. And it's also really important when looking at charts like this to remember that this is specifically for adults. So young adults or teens, we're not seeing quite as much of their information here, and they are using more social media sites like TikTok and Snapchat than what's reflected in this chart. But we are going to go into each of the most popular social media sites now. The first off is Bing YouTube. It has the most regular users, but it also has a pretty high barrier to entry for businesses to use. Not only do you need to feel really comfortable on camera, but you also need to have a high enough production value to make the most out of YouTube. YouTube's also not necessarily the best use of your time for like a local only business because of how far your videos can spread. So if your video is spreading really far within your specific industry, but it's not reaching your actual customers, it's not going to be bringing you a lot of use in your business. Now, for the most part, most businesses should be on Facebook. It's simply expected by most adult consumers. Most of us use Facebook, but the average user is skewing older over time. Most businesses like to use Facebook because it's easy and the shared content that you make doesn't need to take absolutely ages to create, and you're more than likely to find people who are in your audience using Facebook. But I'm sure that you have noticed that when you post something to Facebook, not everybody who follows you is going to see that post. This is because both Facebook and Instagram, which are owned by the same company, are kind of coming pay to play, which means that if you want your post to see all of your audience or a broader audience, you're likely going to need at least a small advertising budget to back that up. So on the Instagram side of things, it is definitely a powerful tool for businesses, but it can take a lot more work to grow a following. So on Instagram, You can reach adults anywhere from 18 to 44, but it is best for focusing on adults 25 to 34, and that's for the average user. Instagram can also perform really well at both high and low production value, but the most important thing is to be consistent, to post with personality, to like really get your voice out there, and specifically to focus on video content, especially Reels. Instagram's really pushing kind of video content across the board right now. And if you are not posting video, you are definitely missing out on reach. Now, Pinterest is a really interesting platform for businesses. Kind of like Facebook and Instagram, Pinterest is really pushing the advertising side of things for brands to have their content seen. Pinterest is also really interesting in terms of their user base and what type of content is going to perform best. So for the most part, Pinterest is used by women. It's over 70% of their audience. And it's used kind of like a visual search engine for women searching for things like recipes, DIY, clothing, and more. Interestingly, Pinterest has just announced that they are getting a lot of Gen Z. They specifically say that Gen Z is our fastest growing audience, making up 42% of our global user base. And they also say that 80% of their total user base is between 18 and 34 years old. Another platform that we see primarily younger people using is TikTok. Now, we all know that TikTok has really exploded in their user base over the last couple of years, but it's still primarily being used by younger people. More than half of TikTok weekly active users in the United States are between 18 and 34 years old, and only 14% are 55 years old and older. TikTok's a really fun platform for businesses to use, but it can take a ton of time and effort to create video content on like a daily basis. We see that businesses can be successful on TikTok when they are confident using humor, sharing really niche or very specific information, or otherwise just able to incorporate trending topics, spending a lot of time on TikTok yourself to understand like what's happening and doing that on a daily basis and being really, really consistent with it. Now for LinkedIn, we see this mostly for B2B businesses, business consultants, business services, and more because the user base of LinkedIn is primarily business people. It's great not just for networking with potential customers, but also with other business owners within your industry. And then the last social media platform that we're going to specifically talk about is Reddit. This is an interesting social media platform because it's primarily text-based, although images and videos are also used, and it's primarily reaching men. It's over 60% male, the rest are female, and it does support businesses doing advertising. If you were to try to do an organic marketing through Reddit, it will definitely take a lot of time and understanding of the platform and the way it's set up. With different subreddits, you need to participate in an organic manner. And a lot of these different subgroups have policies against self-promotion. So it is something that you would have to be quite careful about doing organically. But like I said, it's another option for advertising. So creating content for all of these different platforms, it can be a little bit of a challenge, but we do like to recommend planning in advance as much as you can. But it's important to remain flexible. When sudden trends arises or other events occur, it's really important to be able to react to that with your social media and have that feel authentic. When you're planning out your content, it makes things a lot easier if you're very busy during the day to use a scheduler to post on your behalf. So most social media sites do have their own scheduling capabilities, but if you would like to keep everything kind of all in one place, you can use a scheduling app like Later or Hootsuite that can post for you. And then it's important to remember when you're creating content for social media to not just constantly go for the sale and to constantly talk about exactly what it is that your business does or that you're trying to sell to the users. Most people are so used to being advertised to on these platforms that they kind of feel it and they can skip right past it without even engaging with your content. So it's really important to make sure that the content that you're sharing is engaging and interesting and relevant to your users. We like to make sure, additionally, that you're posting different content to different websites if you're using multiple social media platforms, and making sure that the content that you're sharing is targeted to the users of that platform. And that tends to make things a little bit more successful for you. Interacting with your customers online is another really great way to kind of build content for you to share. So anything from users' testimonials or resharing photos or videos that customers share of using your product or service, that's called user-generated content, or UGC. It's really, really great for you to share, and it takes less effort from you. You just need to get consent from someone to reshare that. And then the last thing we would say is to make sure you're keeping an eye on your data. Look at what kind of content gets the most views or engagement, and use that information to plan future content when you kind of understand what's resonating with people. So across the board, as I've kind of mentioned, we are seeing most social media websites kind of transition to short form video content. This was definitely popularized for the most part by TikTok, but we're seeing it on Instagram, on Facebook, even on YouTube with YouTube Shorts. Something that people ask us about a lot are hashtags. Hashtags used to be really important, especially on Instagram, and that has become much less important over time. But we do still recommend that you follow hashtags that are relevant in your industry. That way you kind of see what other people are talking about who you might not be following. And to still use hashtags on your post, just don't rely on them to be bringing new users to your page. And then most importantly, is to stay on top of trends, especially trending audio on TikTok or Instagram, which can take a simple video and have it reach a much wider audience without a ton of effort on your part. So when you are very focused on running your business day to day, it can be really difficult to take the time out to post every day. So we suggest that you plan out a week of content at a time, which allows you the flexibility to pick up on trends that are coming up while also getting those posts scheduled in advance and not having to take a lot of time out of your day to day. So here we have a sample content calendar for an eye doctor. To make things easier on ourselves, what we've done is we've given in the notes section kind of a theme for the whole week. And that's based around a new blog post on this eye doctor's website about eye health for computer workers. So for an example, we share the link on a Monday, we share a short video with a tip on a Tuesday, and then Friday we share a carousel of information still on the same topic on the Friday. This helps to reach different audiences that are engaging with different types of formats while still staying active and engaging. And you will be receiving this document and a blank version that you can use for yourself in an email after the webinar. So let's take a few minutes to think about the content for your business. Please type into the chat, what kind of social media websites are you using and who are you reaching with those social media posts? And if you can hold until I say send, we'll give people a couple of seconds here to start typing in their answers. So if you're ready, you can start sending in what social media websites that you're using and who you're trying to reach. So Tracy has a question here on who do we mean by who we're reaching? So your customer base ideally is who you're going to try to be reaching with your social media. So if you're sharing things to your Facebook or Twitter, you want to make sure that the people who are engaging with that content is a potential customer, a client, or whatever is relevant for your business. We have a lot of people using Facebook and Instagram, very popular. Michael, we already talked a little bit about LinkedIn. Teresa saying that she uses Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest to target newly engaged couples, parents of couples, and folks celebrating life milestones. That's exciting. Glad to see that you're using Pinterest for that. Awesome. And Nidra, we already spoke a little bit about Instagram and Facebook, trying to see people who are trying to obtain their CDL license. This all sounds really good. We're hitting the right people for the right social media platforms. So a little bit of homework after this webinar here. An option would be to kind of think about 3 different themes that you could use on your social media. So we had that eye doctor example where we had the blog post, and then we shared about it in different ways throughout the week. So determine a couple of different themes that you could use on your social media, and then the post that would be related to that theme. And then we also have some time here for questions if anybody has them for social media. And if you'd like, you can add questions to the chat, or you can go ahead and share with us. Give another couple of seconds if anybody has a question. So targeting people on Pinterest. That is a question in the chat from Michael. That depends on what you're looking to do. So like I said, Pinterest is really pushing advertising for businesses. So within Pinterest, they have their own advertising platform, kind of like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn do, where within the creation of the ad through Pinterest for Business, that is where you target who you're trying to reach with your advertisement. So that's on the ad side of things. If you're trying to reach people organically, there is kind of a thought process to like Pinterest SEO, where you look at, again, like if you type in like Pinterest for Business, they have a lot of analytics that you can get on what keywords people are using. And you can see like what's the most popular in your industry. So Michael, I believe you said you're the architect. You could look into home architecture and stuff like that for Pinterest, see what kind of keywords are at the top of the list. And then you would need to create posts that link to your website that use those keywords within the Pinterest like headline and stuff like that. Teresa said that Instagram is also using SEO. Should we be using search terms in your post captions more now? And is this a trend? Generally, yes. So kind of across the board, and we'll get into SEO a little bit later for your website, but for social media, it's kind of a best practice to look up to see how people are saying things. So if you used to use hashtags to kind of do this, now it's just the text. So as the algorithms have gotten a little bit smarter over time, it can tell what your post is about, ideally with the text in the caption. And if you have videos, you can also have the literal text of what you're saying on the screen. That can help as well if you're trying to target specific searches that people might be doing on Instagram. So I think that'll cover it for social media for now. And we're gonna hop into PPC. So outside of the organic side of social media content, there's pay-per-click ads or PPC, which is a great way to ensure that your business is getting in front of potential customers very quickly. For the majority of this section, we are going to focus on Google ads, but of course, we'll talk about social media ads as well. Ads on social media are absolutely everywhere, but they might not always look like an ad, especially if you're not used to looking for them. Boosting your posts will share your content to your chosen audience, and it looks generally like a regular post. You can do the same thing for your Instagram stories, Facebook stories, and Reels through the Meta Ads Manager. And you can also set up more sophisticated pay-per-click ad campaigns through the Ads Manager as well. And we're going to take a quick look at what these look like. So all three of these might look like regular posts, but they're actually ads. The goal of ads on social media is to get them to look similar to existing content so that people don't just scroll right past it. The first two posts that you see here are very simple single image ads, and you've probably seen similar ads that are like a carousel of images. And then the last ad on the page is a catalog ad. So that is set up through the Meta Ads Manager, and it's pulling specific pieces of clothing from this brand that's set up with Facebook through their catalog system. You can see as well, I've circled the sponsored notification underneath the username. If you start keeping an eye out for that, you're going to see it every couple of posts when you're scrolling on social media. The ads are absolutely everywhere. Now, I will say the one big thing that we see as a question, I suppose, is how to reach the right people with your social media ads. And that's all down to defining your audience, which is really, really important to make sure that your ad budget that you're spending is going to the right place. So we will link to a tutorial of specifically how to do this in an email after the class. I will say in general, Facebook or Meta is trying to push like them creating your audience. But if you do want to have that control over who your ads are reaching, I would recommend just building that audience yourself. And it is a bit easier to do on the computer as opposed to doing this from your phone. So outside of social media, two of the biggest pay-per-click tools are Bing Ads and Google Ads. We're going to focus mostly on Google Ads because it's a good fit for most businesses, and it has a much larger audience than Bing Ads does. There are many different types of ways to run a PPC campaign on these platforms. You can run a search campaign where your business shows up at the top of like the search results for Google, a shopping campaign, which does the same thing for consumer goods. You can do ads on Google Maps. You can do display and video campaigns, which highlight your business through images and videos on other websites. And we'll get into each of those a little bit further down. Excuse me, but choosing where you spend your money on PPC ads is really down to how and where you want to show up online. Lots of different types of ads work for different types of businesses or products. So we're going to get into a few examples. So I know, again, it's kind of hard to be able to read this, but it's an overview of the Google search engine results page and the different sections. So you can see at the very, very top, we have our search term. The search term we used was computer repair service in New Orleans. The first result is a paid Google search ad. So that's the PPC. Underneath that, we have Google Maps. That's the local search. Underneath that, you have people also ask, and the very bottom, we finally get to those organic search results. Now, you also might have noticed that Google has recently rolled out their AI overviews. These don't typically show up in the same search results as ads, and the AI overviews are always at the very top of the page. This is kind of more relevant for SEO, which we'll get into soon, but you can see kind of on the side of the results there, it is linking to a few websites. So it is something that could be valuable for your website, but it's a little bit harder to get into. Now, this is an example of a search campaign for the keyword cheap hotels in Austin. When somebody is making a search on Google, Google runs an incredibly complicated algorithm to place ads at the very top of the page. Most businesses could make use of Google search ads. They're really great for reaching a customer when they're searching for businesses specifically like yours. All of these hotel chains are trying to get people who are looking for hotels in Austin. And you instantly know that they're specifically looking for a business or product or service like yours. Now, these are examples of shopping ads. So you can see here, the search term we used was teal high heels, and it starts at the top of the page with a bunch of shopping ads. They're really best for consumer products. Shopping ads tend to be a bit more expensive than search ads, but they also have a higher chance of purchase because people can literally see a picture of your product before they click. Now for display ads, you'll see these all over the web on various different websites. So on this page, you can see two different advertisements for SEMrush for an article on wired.com. Display ads are really great for most businesses in helping you to gain name recognition and keeping at the top of your mind for your ideal customers as they browse the web. And the last thing we are going to talk about is video ads on YouTube and other websites. These ads can be kind of the most expensive because not only do you need to pay for the actual advertising spot, but you need to pay to create the video, which can be very expensive if you're doing a high production value. However, these ads can also be really powerful because they're showing your product or service in action. Now, for local businesses, ads on Google Maps makes it really easy for people to find and get to your location. These are called local search ads, and they show up in Google Maps and can drive that direct traffic to your business. So this, as an example, is a search for McDonald's, and you can see the very first sponsored result there is for McDonald's to get to the closest one. So if you would like to take a couple of minutes here to think about potential ads for your businesses, what types of PPC ads do you think that you would use for your business and why? And if you can hold until I say send. All right. Do you want to start sending in your responses? We can talk a little bit more about pay-per-click campaigns for your businesses. So Chantel says local search ads, as so does Anne. Local search ads for tourists staying in the area of our business. That's really smart as a way of getting people who are just in New Orleans for a little bit, trying to find businesses like yours on their phone on maps. That is an excellent choice. Tracy says after school youth classes, trying to increase enrollment for youth programming. Now, it sounds like you could probably make use of Google search ads. That would be kind of an inexpensive way for people who are specifically looking for after school programs for kids. Local search ads for personal chefs, another great one. A great option, again, for something as specific as like a personal chef could be search ads, because if somebody is specifically looking for personal chef New Orleans, you could show up as a result there. And then individuals looking for business consulting services, again, local search ads. That sounds like a lot of really great options there. Search ads for retreat settings, that's really smart as well because people tend to know kind of what location they're looking for an event like that. Now, for homework for this section, I really recommend just Googling other kind of businesses in your industry or the kind of keywords that you think someone might use for your industry. See what businesses are running ads and see if you can kind of tell what types of ads they're running. And then as another piece of homework, you can draft a plan of what types of ads that you could use to promote your business. And we will open it up for questions as well at this point. And again, you can add any questions into the chat or we can chat about it as well. I'm gonna leave this page up, but at this point, I think we're gonna take our 5-minute break. It is about 2:10, so if we see you all back here at 2:15, now's the time to get a little water, restroom break if you need it. All right, just a couple minutes left here on our little break. But if anybody has any questions about paid ads or social media up to this point, we have time to chat about that now. Mm. If everybody is ready, our next topic here is going to be SEO. So now that we have covered paid ads, we're going to talk about organic search results. So search engine optimization, or SEO, is how we make your website or business listings give Google all of the information that it needs to show your business at the very top of their organic results. So we like to talk about SEO in two different categories, both organic and local. Organic SEO is how you write the content for your website to meet people's needs, as well as the needs of Google's algorithm. This helps people reach your website when they're doing a search on Google. Local SEO, on the other hand, is especially beneficial for local businesses with in-person locations, like restaurants, shops, even lawyers and dentists. And we're going to talk a little bit about local SEO first. So for local SEO, one of the easiest ways to boost your rankings is by ensuring that you have a great KNAP score. And KNAP stands for name, address, and phone number. This information needs to be consistent across the web, not just on your own website or your Google My Business listing. This shows Google that your business is legit and helps to avoid confusion with outdated information on other websites. People are often surprised just how many different places their business is listed online, because it's probably a lot more than you would think because of aggregator websites that are in your niche or industry. They can often have a listing for your business that you didn't even create yourself. Your KNAP score can be worked on manually by literally just searching for your business, claiming all of those listings, and then making whatever edits are needed. But this takes a lot of time that not a lot of us have to go through. We will be linking you to a blog post in an email after this webinar where you can check your KNAP score and learn about a service that allows you to kind of update all of these different listings all at once. But one listing that you absolutely need to have access to and need to update yourself is that Google My Business. So Google My Business is probably the most important free local SEO tool that every business should make sure that they have access to. When you are filling out your Google My Business listing, it's really important to give Google and your potential customers all of the information that they need for your business. And when you're filling this out, try to keep in mind what type of search terms that customers might be using to try to find a business like yours. And then incorporate those into the text that you're using in your listing to make it a little bit easier for you to be found. But just make sure that it sounds natural in what the section that you're writing. And I'm sure that you all know that Google is listing your review average very prominently. But did you know that 87% of potential customers will not consider a business that has low rankings? Gaining positive reviews online is really helpful for that local SEO, and it's helpful in having new customers trust your business because bad reviews really negatively impact both your local SEO as well as new customers gaining that immediate trust. To work on building your reviews, we practice reputation management, which involves reaching out to clients who you know have had a really good experience and asking them to leave a review. And it also involves responding to all of your reviews, both positive and negative. This shows people who are browsing and reading through those reviews how you might respond to a potential problem if something comes up. Now, to switch gears a little bit, we're going to talk about organic SEO. This is to boost your website in those organic search results. And people often ask how to make an impact here. There's really three most important aspects to your website SEO, which is links, content, and user experience, which is like the techie side of your website. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about these now. So Alex covered a lot of this in the previous webinar last week. So if you didn't manage to catch that, there will be a YouTube link where you can see the playback of his webinar about building your website. But as a quick review on the technical side of things, it's really important to make sure that your website is secure and that you have an up-to-date SSL certificate. It needs to be mobile friendly, and that's becoming increasingly more important over time, and it also needs to be really, really fast. All of these components are taken into consideration in Google's algorithm when they are determining who's going to show up where on that Google results page. Now for links, you should always make sure to share your content from your website to your social media accounts. These are social signals, or how many times someone is sharing a link. It can be really helpful in proving that your website is relevant and important. But it's even better if you can leverage press to get your website linked from other high authority sites. This is a little bit easier said than done, but creating really solid content that is worth sharing makes it more likely to gain those valuable links. Now, the last and biggest component of your organic SEO is the content, which is the literal written information that you are sharing on your website. When you are writing the content for your website, you need to consider, what do you often say in sales meetings? What questions are you getting from customers? What is your company's USP, and how are you different from your competition? If your website is able to convey this information, you'll make better use of it as a sales tool. And when you have an idea of what kinds of information that you need to be sharing on your website, you can learn how to find the keywords that people are using to look for content like yours. So keyword research. When you're just starting out, one of the easiest ways to see what other people are searching for in terms of content is Google's related searches. This is at the very, very bottom of the search engine results page, and it shows searches that are related to yours. So you can see that we did a search for gourmet chocolate. And then in the related searches, you can see near me, best, brands, flavors, and so on. This gives a little bit of an idea of what other kind of topics are popular for people who are looking for gourmet chocolate. And if you also look just above these people also search for, you can see another Google search ad. So that's another place that those can show up. Another great keyword research tool is Answer the Public. This is a website that allows you to enter in a key phrase. And again, we used gourmet chocolate, and see what kind of questions people are using to search in that search term. So it gives a good idea for things like blog posts or FAQs that you can add to your website. So here you can see gourmet chocolate. People are asking how to make gourmet chocolate, how to make gourmet chocolate cookies, how to make gourmet chocolate covered strawberries. These are all different things that you could cover on your website if you had a gourmet chocolate website to give people answers to these questions. Now, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of keyword research, there are some much bigger, more in-depth tools that you can use. The first one, keyword tool, is found at keywordtool.io. It gives you a lot of great ideas for new keywords based on a search term that you give them, but you're not going to get any data like how many literal searches are being used without a paid plan, but they do have a free plan. Moz is another really powerful resource, but it does again come with a price tag. But Moz is kind of a great first step if you were trying to learn more about SEO. They have tons of free classes basically that you can take on SEO, lots of free documentation, and they have some free tools as well that does give you data that you can use, but it limits the number of times that you can use it within a month. Google has their keyword planner, which again is a free resource, but you're not going to get a lot of really detailed data unless you have a paid Google Ads account. It's also best for researching keywords for Google Ads, those pay-per-click campaigns, as opposed to SEO, but it will give you a good idea of a starting point. And then last, we have SEMrush, which is very, very similar to Moz, but it's really good at competitor research specifically. So when we're doing SEO audits for our clients, we tend to include competitor research that people find really valuable. Tools like SEMrush allow us to gather data on the competitors' websites and see how it compares to the client's website to get a more well-rounded view of the industry as a whole. What are things that these competitors have strengths in that we need to work on, and vice versa. So we've covered both PPC and SEO, but how do you choose which one is right for your business? The real difference comes down to money and time. Neither PPC or SEO is free. Paid ads can be pretty expensive depending on your industry because you're paying for each and every click. However, you do get those instant results of people landing onto your website and ideally taking an action. For SEO, it takes time for Google to understand what your website is about. And it takes a lot of time to move you up in those search results, which can take months or even years if you're going for a keyword that has really intense competition. But it also has the additional benefit of building your overall website strength. And then you can use things like blog posts that you're writing for content for your social media or email newsletters. But it does, again, it takes the time to actually write that content and the time for Google to understand what your website is about. So for a little participation here, if you can type 3 potential keywords that you think might work for your business, as well as a reminder of what your business is, and go ahead and hold those until I say send. All right. If you've had a chance to type in a couple of keywords, go ahead and send those in. All right, Tracy says filmmaker services, youth programming, and filmmaker trainings. That's really interesting. I would also look for even maybe a little bit more broad, just like how to make my movie, like how to make a movie or kids movie classes, stuff like that could be really helpful. Michael says home renovation architect, definitely a really solid keyword for your business as well. Shelley says food therapy and chef therapist. That's another really interesting one. I think that could also have a lot of really cool seed keywords as well in like the nutrition kind of area. Nutritional therapy maybe as well. Nidra says CDL license, CDL training, how to get my CDL. Those are absolutely spot on. Teresa says cake artistry, wedding cakes, New Orleans, custom cakes, New Orleans, cakes, New Orleans. Absolutely. Michelle is saying retreat with outdoor space, event spaces, transitional housing. Those sound really good as well. I might even include for location related ones where it's at. And in New Orleans, you can even include like the neighborhood. So like, let's say that you're in Lakeview, you could say retreat in Lakeview or something, or retreat in New Orleans. That might help a little bit as well. Chantel says grants, nonprofits, and business consulting. That sounds slightly too vague, I think, for someone to be searching. Because if somebody just searches the term grants, they're going to get all kinds of information on different types of grants. So that's another place where keyword research would be really valuable into looking into what types of keywords are people looking for. Either are these going to be grants that your company is providing? Are you the grant writer? That's where we would want to get a little bit more specific. Food for healing, healing at the table, New Orleans food tours, absolutely spot on. These are all really great seed keywords. And I think our homework is related as well. So for your homework, it's really important if you do not have access to your Google My Business listing to get access to that. So a lot of businesses will already be on Google, like the Google My Business listing, even if you don't have access to that. So you can claim access. There's a way to do that. Or if you already have access, make sure that it's up to date. And then keep thinking about different keywords that you could use for your business. Take a look at the different keyword tools that we've used to kind of take the seed keywords that we've been talking about and see what other keywords are related. And then think about a couple of pages on your website that you could use to optimize with those keywords. All right. And then any questions about search engine optimization? And any questions can be added in the chat, or if it's long and complicated, we can talk about it as well.
I have a quick question, Allison.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why sometimes if we do a sponsor like a boost ad on
Sure.
Instagram, sometimes I see on our credit card bill it says Apple charges and Instagram. You can go and do you know why that is, or is there a better way for us to do our ads on Instagram?
So are you doing them all from your phone?
Yeah, we're doing it from the phone.
So that it's just like kind of a crappy thing that Apple is doing, and they're charging you a fee on top of it.
Okay.
So if you're doing any boosts from your phone, and I know Apple for sure does it, I'm not sure about other phones or other phone services. They're just going to charge you a fee.
Okay.
But you can do it without that fee if you do it from your computer.
Do it from the computer. Okay.
So you can go to either like business.facebook.com or it's just type in Facebook Creator Studio, and that's another really easy way to have a lot of more control over that and to avoid those fees, because that is unwelcome.
Okay, so what about Instagram? It's all the same, Instagram and okay. So
Instagram and Facebook are the same company. It's technically Meta. Okay. And you can do your boosts for both through the Creator Studio or
Creator Studio.
Yep.
Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then we also have a question in the chat here. If you can claim a business on Google if you do not have a brick and mortar location. Yes. So Google does allow you to have a business listing that doesn't have a precise address attached to it. But in claiming and verifying your business, you'll need to provide to Google an address. So you can basically literally toggle a switch that says to not show your address, but you'll need to provide some kind of documentation that proves that your business exists, which might be whatever address is registered for your business. Or there's another verification method where they literally send you a postcard in the mail. So you'll need to have an address for that to go to. So you can have a business listing without your business address being shown. All right. Any other questions about any of our previous topics? All right. We are going to get into email marketing then. So if you were to check your email right now, how many emails would you find that are actually about work or your friends and family or any kind of other personal emails? And then how many of them would be from stores or other businesses? We're all getting marketing emails constantly every day, and it's because they're effective. Email marketing influences consumers to spend more with your business. So if you are sending an email with an offer or a coupon or a freebie, typically users who complete a purchase not only buy that product with the coupon, but they're also more likely to buy another product that wasn't even included in the offer. This causes them to spend more with your business than the consumers who didn't even get the offer. So we often hear from small businesses that they don't want to invest in email marketing because people just delete the emails. And while that's definitely going to be true for some people on your email list, it's still a really highly valuable use of your marketing time and budget. So there's several different things that can contribute to a higher open rate for those emails. So less people deleting them, more people reading them. One of the things is going to be your industry. There's not a lot that we can do to control that, but aspects that you can influence are your subject line, your email list segmentation, and email list personalization. Making sure that you're addressing all of those are going to really improve your open rate, and we'll talk about those throughout this section. But let's say you still do everything right. You have a really great email, perfect subject line. You're still going to have people delete that email. We all get emails from marketing teams of big businesses, even on a daily basis. Where smaller businesses that have a big time and money crunch are going to be using email marketing less frequently. But since email marketing is still an ultimately inexpensive way to implement some marketing and have a massive return on investment, even small businesses should start marketing with email. And the return on investment really can be significant. On average in the US, for every dollar that is spent on email marketing, the return on investment is $44. And we also see this with our own clients. Really great email marketing campaigns are going to sell your products. But what about B2B businesses? It's still really important to have email marketing because it's the third most influential source of information after colleague recommendations and industry-specific thought leaders. For B2B businesses, email subscribers tend to be your biggest fans or businesses that are highly likely to convert. But because they're also these big fans, they're much more likely to share your content on social media, which is broadening your reach even further. So how do you make an email list? We recommend that you gather your email list organically from your website, blog posts, social media, even in-person events. We typically warn against buying email lists. Even though growing an organic list takes longer, buying email list generally means that you might not be reaching the exact target audience that you would like, and it can result in high unsubscribe rates and complaint rates. You also need to make sure that you're getting permission to use people's emails. And we've all kind of done this when you can click a box like to opt in or opt out of marketing emails. That is giving people permission to send you marketing emails. So adding in people's emails from business cards that you've collected or people who you already know can also have those high complaint rates. And depending on your email service provider, if you have high complaint rates, they can just drop you. It's also really important that if you do any business in the EU, because of the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation. Now, this is specifically for the EU, but we are starting to see different states in the US that are adopting very similar regulations for email marketing, and they're all kind of good practices. So I'm going to run through the kind of list for GDPR. So the first thing, like I said, is making sure that you have that permission to send emails to people on your list. Next would be not using misleading information in the header or subject line. And by that, we're not talking about persuasive language. You can use persuasive language, but you can't just outright lie in the subject line of your email. You need to give recipients the option of unsubscribing or opting out from those future emails. And that opt-out request must be honored within 10 business days. If your email is an advertisement, it must be identified as so. And you need to tell your recipients where you're located. So if you've ever set up like an email marketing campaign, that information's already probably baked into whatever program that you're using, like MailChimp or Constant Contact. It'll have your address at the bottom of the page. And then to keep in mind, if you are using a third party to do your email marketing for you, you're still liable for making sure that these are followed. So gaining the emails from your list can be a little bit tricky, but you can use incentives to help users to give you that permission for your email marketing. Popular incentives include offering a freebie or discount, hosting a contest, and including happy testimonials from happy customers. These are all really great ways to build trust and kind of convince people to sign up for your email newsletter list. So if we're talking about a freebie, you could offer a taste of your product for free, or a free ebook, a free white paper. These are different ways that you can introduce people to your business with a little bit of a freebie for their email address. For hosting a content or contest, these are really great for like in-person events where people like put their information onto like a slip of paper or whatever, and they can win a prize. Ideally something that is related to your business. And then adding testimonials or logos of brands that you've worked with, reviews from your customers to your website, all of these things can also help to build trust. So when it comes to writing your email, arguably the most important aspect is the subject line and the pre-header. You really want to make sure that these are very persuasive and that they're not turning people off. So for example, research shows that about 20% of people are less likely to click on an email when the word newsletter is literally in that subject line. But you can use your subject line to capitalize on what somebody might be feeling. So if they have like a fear of missing out, you can talk about a sale ending soon, or if your business is alleviating a pain point, you can focus on that. We have some more examples here of subject lines that might spark some action in an email newsletter. Keep in mind that the type of subject line that you want to use will vary greatly depending on what type of business that you have and what you're actually covering in the newsletter. An even better way to make use of your subject line and your email marketing in general is to include personalization. So that could be somebody's name, information on stuff that they've forgotten in their shopping cart if you have, an e-commerce website. Adding in those little personalized components to emails really helps to increase open rates, as does segmentation. So segmenting could be, a list of people who have signed up very recently to your email newsletter, in a month from now, sending the people who have signed up in the last month a coupon. Things like that can really help to increase your engagement with your email marketing. Now, when you are writing the actual email itself, there's a couple of best practices that we always recommend. A/B testing is where you try out different subject lines or any kind of other content. It helps you learn more about what resonates with your audience, and you can use that to improve your future campaigns. When you're writing the email itself, keeping your call to action or the ultimate action that you want people to take in the email in your mind from the get-go is really useful, because that way you're thinking about how to incorporate a buy now button or a link or whatever action you would like people to take into the email in a place that it feels natural. It's also a really good idea to give users the opportunity to click in different ways. So that includes text links, buttons, even replying to the email as a way that people can engage. Making sure that your emails are not too wordy and that they're staying on topic with whatever the topic may be. As for images in your emails, it's really important that they are high quality, but they need to be sized appropriately. So depending on what email service you're using, they might tell you that you need to size down your image so that it can actually literally be sent. And you want to make sure that when you're using images, they're breaking up the email, but they're not so many that it's overwhelming and that people are getting lost in the images and not reading. And then the last thing is to always stay on brand. We recommend that you write any kind of email marketing in advance and then review it with fresh eyes before you send it out. So if you can type into the chat an example of a persuasive subject line that might look or might work well for your business, and go ahead and hold those until I say send. All right, you've had a chance to type in an example of a subject line. Go ahead and send that into the chat. Do we have any takers on this one? I can go back to our slide showing some subject line examples. So Tracy says Novak local 798 makeup training. We had emojis. Are those like industry specific terms, Tracy? Yeah. So I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but IATSE is the local makeup union. Okay, that makes sense if that is a industry terminology. IATSE, gotcha. So that is definitely very information based. I think that's super useful for the people who are going to need that kind of training. Do we have anybody else who wants to share an example? Do you need an architect but don't know where to start? That sounds like a really good pre-header. I think for maybe a subject line, we could do something that is a little bit more eye-catching. So like, let's say somebody has like a new build, they need a new build. It could literally just be like building in New Orleans or something to that point, and then needing an architect, don't know where to start. All right. Well, let's get into the homework for this email marketing section. So brainstorm some ways that you could grow your email list authentically. These are different ways from your website, in-person events. Think of a couple of things that might work for you, and then jot down a couple of subject lines that you think might work best. Michael has another example. Turn your Pinterest board into a blueprint in 3 simple steps. That sounds like a really great, engaging subject line. All right, I'm going to open it up for any more questions, anything else for the entire webinar. If there's any email marketing questions, social media, SEO, PPC, you can type your questions in the chat, or we can also just speak about them. Tracy says this has been helpful. Thank you. Well, I'm glad that it has been helpful for you. All right, last call for any questions. All right. Well, I mentioned at the very beginning of the webinar that if you would like to have a free strategy session with me or anybody else on our team, you can sign up for that at getonlinenola.com/strategy. And then I would like to really thank Margaret and the City of New Orleans Office of Economic Development for hosting us for these webinars.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry, it does look like we have a question here from Sandy. Do I understand correctly that you would have to use email marketing company? You can absolutely do email marketing yourself. It's easiest if you're sending it out through a program like MailChimp or Constant Contact, but you can completely have control of that yourself if you would like to, or if it's something that you would like to have somebody handle for you. We do email marketing. Lots of marketing companies will help out with email marketing if that's something that you're interested in. All right, Sandy says, thank you, you're welcome. All right, I think that might be it.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone for joining today, especially our guest speaker for providing such a wealth of information. Within 5 to 10 business days, this webinar will be available on the Office of Economic Development YouTube channel, along with previous recorded sessions and webinars. Continue to check your email for business events and resources. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thanks, everybody.